Hey all, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to talk about sleep enhancing tips and how to really breathe through your nose while you're sleeping using mouth tape, but secondarily, how to unclog a clogged nose. Now, it's really hard to get the health benefits of mouth taping and preventing the sleep disordered breathing if your nose is all stuffed up. And so I have some tools here I'm going to share with you about how I unclogged my sinuses and how I keep them unclogged on a regular basis. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about sleep disordered breathing and mouth taping, review some of the science there, and then I'm going to cut to some footage of a full body MRI of my head. And you probably saw that interview where we did with Dr. Raj, and my wife and I got full body MRIs. Well, long story short, I had a lot of sinus congestion for a long time, and I didn't know where it was coming from. Was it this dairy sensitivity, mold environment? Like, what was going on? And Raj was like, Mike, your sinuses are totally clogged. How are you able to breathe right now? And he gave me some tips about how to clear my sinuses, including some of the tips I'm going to share with you today. So I think that's pretty fascinating. Why don't we cut to that and you'll see how congested I was. And I will tell you right now, I can breathe through my nose so much better. My sleep is so much better. And so let's cut to that footage and we'll come back and talk about ways that you can mitigate and unclog your sinuses.
You got some pretty heavy duty sinus.
Well, I do, yes.
It's like, it's sort of like, boy, it's like, can you breathe?
Yeah. All right, good. I thought it was a weenie because I'm been stuffed up and I'm going, what the hell's going on?
Oh, yeah, no, you're stuffed. It's like you're chock-a-block.
Yeah.
So here's we go through. So these are the frontal sinuses. So the sinuses are just basically air spaced gaps in the skull.
Okay.
So if these air spaced gaps weren't there, your heads would be very, very heavy. And so each space is quite unique. So this here is a frontal sinus, so that's right behind the forehead.
Yeah.
And you see how it's all black, just like the air around you, so it's full of air. But you can see that there's this white ring here, which is a mucosal membrane being inflamed. And now as we come farther down, that sinus then gets into the ethmoidal sinuses, which are right behind the bridge of the nose. And you can see here how it's all kind of white and full.
Yeah.
Whereas here towards the back, it's actually less full, but again, the sinuses are all thickened. Then we get into the sphenoid sinus, which is right here. And again, it's all thick all the way around. So you have sphenoid involvement. And then we come farther down here, so now we're behind the cheeks, so there's your nose there. And you can see this space here, which is all completely gray, so they're completely opacified, full of sinus fluid. Normally this upside down triangle and this upside down triangle, they should be black, full of air, whereas yours are completely full of fluid.
Wow.
But you'll see here's the sinuses, and you see how it's all white. So this is all fluid filling that sinuses.
Yeah.
And you see how in the center it's a little bit darker.
Yeah.
And so that means that this sinus fluid here is very viscous and gluey. And when we go to our DWIMS or diffusion sequence, when I go and I correlate that, you're going to see how it's all dark in there. Right? And so we know that it's all kind of impacted, inspissated, gluey, sticky mucus. So how do you get rid of it? The best way is actually to make that viscousy, gluey stuff flow better, because right now it's like molasses. A simple way is to just do steam, because what steam does, it actually just makes things flow better.
Okay.
Best way.
Okay. Steam, eucalyptus, and whatever, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole idea is we know that fluid is not flowing well. It's not moving, and so as a result, it's going to be stuck in there.
Interesting.
And the interesting thing is the way the nose works, and this is where I put on my engineering hat again, because the body's the ultimate engineered device. So for an engineer, it's like there's nothing like it. But so here when we're looking at you, so here's I'll make this into an arrow. So this here's your left eye and your right eye, and so here's the nose, and so right in the front here we're seeing this black line, so that's where the air is going through. And so you see how all this space up here and up here is all completely full. So that's the drainage pathway for this fluid to get out of the maxillary sinuses. But in your case, they're completely blocked. So as a result, this isn't going to come out unless you loosen this up. And how are you going to loosen that up is with steam. At which point, when you're breathing through your nose, there's actually a Venturi effect that actually goes and pulls the fluid out of the maxillary sinuses. Because right now it's defying gravity. You have to sort of pull it up through this hole at the top. And the only way that happens is by Venturi effect. So it actually causes a bit of a vacuum to pull stuff out. But right now your vacuum line is clogged.
Clogged, man.
Wasn't that fascinating? So you can see all that white material, that's congested, clogged sinuses. And gosh, that was probably that way for many, many years. And that's why I was a mouth breather. And of course, mouth taping, thanks to Dr. Mark Brahena and Stasha Gomanek, I'll put interviews there. Both of them really understand the neurology and the oral kind of physiology of, why, mouth taping is effective and how it kind of entrains us to properly breathe through our nose. Well, that was effective for me as a mitigation strategy, but to be honest, I wasn't really getting at the root cause of like why it was difficult for me to breathe through my nose that created so much mouth breathing, which again is unhealthy. Sleep disorder breathing and mouth breathing is on the sleep apnea spectrum, and kind of the shortened elevator pitch physiology, if you haven't watched any of those past videos, is when you use something like a 3M micropore tape to tape your mouth shut before bed, it forces you to breathe through your nose, which is great, because if you're breathing through your mouth, what happens is your tongue during REM sleep, which is kind of the latter half or latter third of our sleep cycle, like in the 2 to 6 in the morning, something like that for most people, is your brain kind of inhibits the input to the muscle tissue so that basal tone goes down and you get this temporary paralysis, for lack of a better word. And so if you're breathing through your mouth, you can see that creates a problem because your tongue is going to collapse in your airway. That's going to create hypoxia. And it's these repetitions of little hypoxic events that really characterize sleep apnea. And so one of the ways that you can kind of mitigate that or work around that is to tape your mouth, which I recommend. I know a lot of you all do that, but there's a lot of people that just can't breathe through their darn nose. So what do you do? As you heard in that little snippet, Dr. Raj recommend going into a steam room. And so I now go into a steam room 3 to 4 days a week. Right after, I was doing this a lot in my house. And so if you don't have access to a steam room, you can just get a big stainless steel pot, put some filtered water in there, put some Redmond real salt in there. So this is the fine, ancient fine salt. It's very, very fine. I use that in the Sinigator as well. But get some boiling water, put your head over that, put a towel over your head, and just breathe through your nose. And so that really helps. I mean, gosh, I was like hacking up phlegm for weeks after doing this. Every day, it was just tons of phlegm was coming out. And again, I don't know what the root cause, what the reason is. Is it an environmental sensitivity for me? Is it mold? I know we do in the Northwest. I see little spots of mold sometimes in my master bedroom, and I'm good at taking bleach and clearing it out, but potentially there's more mold than I know about. Who knows where it's coming from, but I try to mitigate it as best as I can. So first thing you want to do is use steam several days a week. So that's very important. The second thing that I found to be equally as effective, I just dropped a piece here. This piece broke off. I travel with this thing. It's called the Sinigator by Dr. Mita. And so basically what it is that it's a battery operated pump is all it is. So I take a couple teaspoons of the Redmond real salt, the fine salt, put it in here, put it in filtered water. And basically what you do is you just stick it up your, thing's falling apart. Basically what you do is you stick it in your nostril like this, lean over your sink and turn it on, and you can hear it. All it's doing is just pumping the salt water, okay? It's pumping the salt water from here through one side of your nasal passage. And then what I do is maybe 10 seconds on one side, 10 seconds on the other. The first time I did this, I remember it was like a rush to my head. It felt uncomfortable. It was a lot of pressure. But as I was able to clear my sinuses through the combination of steam and this before bed, I could breathe through my nose again. I didn't sound so congested. And when I kind of think back on like the root cause, I stayed in this Airbnb in Atlanta, Georgia. It was actually right before I interviewed David Jockers back in 2017. And I remember leaving just so congested, so stuffed up, felt off. There had to have been mold or something in there, a lot of dust, I don't know. And so I remember my friend Ben Lynch, I called him up afterwards to talk about something unrelated to that. And he was like, you sound so stuffy. Like, what's going on? And I feel like I've been stuffy for years since then. So, anytime I do, some of you know I do construction on my house. We're building a studio, recording studio and all that. And anytime I'm around dust, and things that particulate that can get clogged in my nasal passages and sinuses, I'd be sure to use a little bit of warm Redmond real salt in this guy with filtered water to clean out the nasal passages and do some steaming mitigation. Now, the other thing that I wish I would have jumped on earlier is the Breathe Right strips. And so these, I kind of brushed these off as ineffective. I thought, how could these little strips you put on your nose, how does that affect flow dynamics? How can that really help you breathe through your nose? And anytime I'm a little congested, maybe I have like a glass of wine and there's sulfites in there or something like that, and I use these Breathe Right strips. I like to travel with these too, because when you're in hotels and there's funky dust and this and that, it can really make a big difference. I was blown away. All it's doing is just opening up your nasal passages just a small amount. And gosh, you go to bed. I think the two of these things together, for a starter, like if you're brand new to mouth taping and you get a little claustrophobic and you're thinking, there's a little paranoia associated with the first time you mouth tape. You're like, how am I going to sleep? Like, what if I have to sneeze? What if this? What if I can't breathe? These two things together are just a great little recipe. And I found these pretty much every drugstore, major, conventional commercial drugstore has the Breathe Right strips. And I did try the Breathe Right strip knockoff, from Kroger. They own QFCs and Fred Meyer's and all that out here and other stores across the United States. They didn't do the job. I think it's worth spending that extra little bit of money to get the brand name Breathe Right strips. The other ones, they were like way too big, at least for my nose, and I don't have a small nose. They're way too big. So just get the brand name stuff. I found too with the Next Care, that's what's called the 3M Micropore Next Care tape, tends to be the best. There's no smells. It's very minimal. It falls off very easily. So again, we're starting to collect a lot of sleep stuff. And the last thing that I highly recommend, and if they are a show sponsor, but they're not paying me to sponsor this particular one-off video, is the Remedy Sleep Mask by Blue Blocks. It's amazing, friends. I'm telling you, because we like to sleep with our door open, our sliding glass door in our room. And so a little light comes in, and this thing, it's like, it stays right on my face. It's really amazing. So why do we talk so much about sleep? Sleep is when you repair. Sleep is when your mitochondria are really activated. Sleep is where autophagy occurs. Sleep is where your immune system is really, repairing, where your muscle tissue repairs from your day. And there's a lot of things that go into sleep. And so if you're shortchanging sleep, if you're getting interrupted sleep, if you're not breathing properly, if you're having hypoxia because your tongue is collapsing on your airway, your sleep is going to be really off. And so that's why it's important to have a set of tools, that can help you at least set the foundation to set you up for a solid night's sleep. And so, hopefully you find this helpful. Like I said, this is just kind of like the things that I found. I learned from you as well. Love to know what you find effective for enhancing your sleep. Obviously there's a lot that comes to, light exposure during the day, lack of exposure to cell phones and devices in the evening hours. There's so many different things, but in this video, we just hopefully address some ways that you can clear your dang nasal passages so that you can get good sleep. So give these a try. Now, full disclosure, below these are affiliate links through Amazon, affiliate links for the Remedy Sleep Mask at Blue Blocks. And so we do make a small commission on that. That actually does help our channel. But these are just the easiest way for me to share that with you so that you get the tools that I'm recommending. So hopefully this will help you improve your deep sleep. And if it does, please share this video with a friend or family member. Definitely subscribe and hit that bell notification over to your right. That way you get pinged when we launch these new videos or interviews with experts. And we'll catch you on a future video, and I'll be following the comments below. Appreciate you all tuning in. Have a good one.